587 BC was the most traumatic moment in Israel's history. The wholesale destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonian army. Human beings have, alas, just got better and better at such citywide annihilation with mutilation, rape, and devastation. The book of Lamentations is a 5-chapter outpouring of grief and bewilderment following this devastation of Jerusalem. It's been used by the Jewish community ever since to remember that terrible day and many subsequent days of darkness and woe, including the Holocaust. Each chapter of Lamentations is an intense A to Z of grief. The author literally uses each letter of the Hebrew alphabet to annotate their destitution. You won't be surprised to hear that Lamentations doesn't get preached on much. Here's my Lamentations preaching file from my study, and here's my file on Matthew chapter 5 to 8. Oh dear. These 5 poems of lament are part confession, as the people face up to their past rejection of everything that God had called them to be. Their part protest, what on earth is going on, God? And their part, we have nowhere to go but with you, God. The poems give us the overall sense of someone struggling with vertigo as they literally straddle the chasm between what they know is true of God's character, but then the brutal realities of our fallen world. If that's your experience too, then God has given us these words so we can say them out loud. The one voice we never hear in Lamentations is God's voice. We know there are many words of comfort and hope elsewhere in the Bible, but God gives us Lamentations, this house for our sorrows and tutor for compassion. But what possible use are these 2,500-year-old poems? First, they help us listen carefully to the persecuted and oppressed, and to hear the effects of cruelty, selfishness, and merciless oppression on them. Second, they help us lament to God about the world's sufferings and our own, rather than crumple or grow bitter or give up on the kingdom of God. Third, they deepen our love for Jesus as we contemplate his suffering. Jesus wept over Jerusalem. Jesus suffered at the hands of an implacable enemy wielding idolatrous imperial power. In Jesus' darkest moment of desolation on the cross, God stayed silent too. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed.